Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pencil versus Pixel. Thank you for joining us today. During the holidays, this is officially the last show of 2013. It's only been a couple of months, but this is the last show of the year for Pencil versus Pixel, and I'm very excited to introduce today's guests. Two guests, which have something to do with the show, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But let me introduce Mr. Anthony Ryan, straight out of Denmark, and Mr. Robin Seville, straight out of the UK, the duo that create ISAN. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hiya.
Hi.
These
Hiya.
two gentlemen are the creative geniuses behind the music of ISAN. So, guys, how did it all begin? Where did ISAN start?
Well, Anthony and I met when we were introduced to each other by my sister, and that was in Leicester in the UK at the start of the 1990s. We had musical tastes in common, and we had musical instruments in common, and we tried to do some music together, and it was very poor.
And poorly
But,
received.
yes, poorly executed and poorly received as appropriate.
Poorly conceived. It was
Poorly conceived, poorly executed, and poorly received. Then I moved away from Leicester, and Anthony started ISAN as a way of keeping in touch with each other musically. So it's only ever been a remote collaboration.
Yeah, and it was actually started out of jealousy because Robin had started working with a mutual friend now, a guy called Rob. What was the name of the project?
Somnifair.
Somnifair, that's right. And I got jealous basically, and I figured I wanted a piece of the action, and so invented ISAN as a remote working collaborative project between the two of us because I felt left out.
So, Anthony, are you saying that you started the band? I'm not trying to start anything here, but I just
No, he
wanted
did.
to know who
Yes, I
True,
did.
true.
I'll take
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I suggested a name, and Robin, you didn't think it was too awful, I suppose.
Yeah, no.
Actually, no. I mean, where it really started was before Robin had moved out of Leicester and moved to Southend. We'd both spent a lot of time digging around in second-hand junk sales, looking for records, and we were picking up all of the old Moog stuff, a lot of the old Exotica records like Arthur Lyman and Martin Denny, anything that had a silly cover and looked a bit, either romantic or exotic or just plain odd. And while we'd been making this awful kind of techno-oriented music while we were together, we'd started to develop this kind of mutual interest, I think, in this kind of more laid-back, exotic, peculiar-sounding stuff. So yeah, then as Robin moved away and we started sending tracks back and forth to each other, it moved completely away from this kind of 4/4 stuff, and was just starting to sound peculiar. Is that a good description, Robin?
Well, it was one of those kind of classic situations where you start out trying to emulate something and fail completely, but find something else interesting along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what we did, wasn't it? That we failed to.
The kind of the first demo tapes and stuff were loaded with marimbas and funny samples like that, shakers and stuff, and that's the stuff that kind of got left behind until well, actually, you picked up the shaking mantle, didn't you, Robin, with your own stuff?
Yeah,
the shaking and knocking stuff mantle. Yeah.
And do you guys play an instrument, or did it all begin with computers, or did it begin as electronic music?
Yeah, it was always just electronics.
So why the transition from techno to what you currently play, which is a little more mellow music?
Well, I guess we worked best with electronics, and we were interested in just trying to kind of finding a way of recreating that kind of exotic vibe, but only using electronics. And we never really set out to create it, but we just kind of picked up on elements of it, and so there was a kind of loose percussion aspect to it and things like that. So it was about trying to create something that wasn't too regimented, a bit more of a loose feel. More organic. And it would be nice to say we had a lo-fi agenda, but we didn't really. We just had lo-fi equipment, and it wasn't out of any. It wasn't a statement of intent. It was just that was all we ever could afford. So we always worked with fairly cheap equipment. We still do, by and large, because it's just more interesting, I think, and we like to work with things that are a little bit flawed because it adds a degree of unpredictability, which is always a good thing to have when you're working with electronics, I think. Yeah.
I'm interested in knowing more about your approach to live sets. Do you tend to improvise a lot, or do you have a set list that you pretty much just go by and play?
We
I
try to
think we
do.
have a yeah. I think we take a palette of stuff with us for
Nice.
the live set, and I think what makes it fun for us and hopefully moderately interesting for the audience is that we have a rough idea what the other one's going to be doing in the palette of tones and rhythms and the kind of rough progressions that the other one's going to be making. And it's the if Robin's driving a piece, then it's up for me to backfill with something and occasionally surprise him, and vice versa. There's been quite a few times when we turn up together. I mean, there was a time, I think it was Thessaloniki in Greece, and Robin just threw something into. Was that the time you dropped the mode selector style beat into?
Yeah. I
Which
think when we
track was that?
first.
I can't remember, but you'd have seen me standing on stage going, "What? What the hell?" And Robin chuckling to himself under his goatee.
Very cool.
We don't
When we
do
first
so much
started,
of that, but
So that
that's
became
kind
a
of the
dance
idea.
party
Is
at
that
that moment, right?
when we started playing live, we were a bit risk averse, and as the years have gone by and we've become more comfortable playing live, we've taken away a lot of the safety nets that we gave ourselves when we started. So we try to make it more unpredictable for our own benefits, as well as for the sake of the audience as well, I suppose. So yeah.
yeah, and we don't synchronize the laptops either. So we do play with it. We used to play with. We used to carry big Korg MS-2000s with us, and guitar pedals and sampler and effects
Just got too
units.
heavy, huh?
We
Yeah.
took it to Japan, and it got cripplingly expensive. So we realised with the price of excess baggage, we could have bought a couple of laptops. So so we and also it was heavy and difficult to transport, and gets damaged in transit and stuff. So yeah, we switched to laptops, but we've never synced the two machines. So and the nature of PCs versus Macintoshes is that they're never exactly in time. So you're always playing catch up. It might say 120 BPM on the screen, but you've got to nudge it backwards and forwards and catch up. And so there's always this kind of slight imbalance between us, which keeps things interesting.
Now you both have mentioned that you work remotely. I mean, Anthony, you're in Denmark, and Robin, you are in the UK. Now, does that work in your favor? My guess is it doesn't work in.
No, you'll see us
Oh,
both
No,
shaking our heads to that. Yeah. I don't think we've ever made a successful recording in the same room, have we, Robin?
rarely,
One,
very
maybe?
rarely.
you basically send files to each other, right?
We either send files to each other or we'll send each other a finished song and say, I did this. Can
Ah,
it be an ISAN song?
Yeah. Yeah. So all of the original stuff, up to probably the mid 2000s, was all either Robin or me. Yeah, I could finish. Initially, it was on cassette when we first started,
oh,
and then
nice.
we started just sending WAV files and stuff over the internet. Or well, we've been through cassette to mini disc to.
Wow.
We've done all of the obsolete digital formats available.
Including digital compact cassette.
Yeah, we did DCC, yeah.
And that's made our job easier because now we can actually collaborate on a piece. So if Robin makes the great bones of something, I can put my fingerprint on it or remix it, or if I get desperate with something that's just not working, then Robin can reconstruct it into something nice.
This is just that stuff back and forth here in Denmark.
Do you guys sample any music, any live instruments, live sounds, any tapping,
No,
clapping?
we partially will sample our own kind of broken down, worn out equipment to make it a bit easier to work with. And we use a few kind of live kind of field recording things just for atmosphere, but very heavily processed.
Yeah, but we don't use kind of sample banks or it's recorded from our collection of over the years of drum machines and synths and peculiar reverb units and stuff. So we've actually got quite a large library I don't have that much kit anymore, but we've got quite a large library of recordings of our own bits and pieces, which is nice. In fact, Robin was posting some pictures today of his old drum machine, which I still keep in a very special folder on my hard drive.
Excellent. Now, I didn't mention this to you and to everyone else who's watching, but the way I encountered the music of ISAN was the moment I walked into Amoeba Music in LA. It was a random day, and they were playing the music. They were playing ISAN's music over the speakers, and of course, I asked who it was, and they told me who it was, and I just that day I grabbed that album and instantly fell in love with this music. And so this album is the one that I picked up. It's plans drawn in pencil. The music, uh, the song Amber Button is the opening music for Pencil vs. Pixel, and I thank you so much for that, guys. I thank you for this
Well,
album, for this great music, and I thank
thank you
for
for finding us. It's nice to be discovered in a, what the hell is that kind of way.
No, yeah, I was like, what the hell is that in a good way? I'm like, I need to know what that is. I need to get it. So, uh, yeah. Now, guys, do you use your music in film, in movies, TV shows, commercials, anything?
We've had a few pieces used in films, and we've done a couple of kind of working on soundtracks for films as well. So yeah, I think sometimes it's easier to work with the pictures in your head than with other people's pictures. But yeah, we've done a bit of both really. So yeah,
And we've been used in quite a few documentaries
yeah,
and stuff as well, which is always been quite satisfying for me, because watching documentaries is a great way of finding interesting electronic and ambient music that you haven't come across before. So to think that we're used in the same way is really, really nice. And we never really find out, because people have licensing deals; they can just use stuff from the library, and it's only when you get a royalty statement you think, oh, we were used in this Swedish documentary, or oh, I'd really like to see that.
Nice.
That's really, really nice.
Did you always want to be musicians, or to be more specific, electronic musicians? And did you always want to work with computers?
Since I was a little boy, I wanted a synthesizer so badly that I used to build them out of Lego and play along to hits of the 80s on the radio in my bedroom. So, when I first was able to afford, what was my first synth? Was a Korg Poly 800 that I think I paid £50 for from a friend. That was finally a dream come true. But it was only really through meeting. I always loved electronic music, but I liked in indie, and I liked the whole grunge scene as well. And it wasn't until I actually met Robin that I realized that there was something new and exciting happening out there in electronic music. That Robin, you introduced me to the artificial intelligence series and a whole bunch of stuff that I hadn't been, that had completely passed me by. So finally there was this opportunity to join up the love of synths with something that and somebody else who was interested in working with them.
I was given a keyboard by a friend, and I guess that's why I started. Because I didn't really think of being a musician until I got kind of given this keyboard, and then made some songs with that on my own, and then met Anthony and kind of saw the way. Because when we first met, we had very different ways of working as well. And it's still the case that Anthony is much more interested in the technical, the right way of doing things than I am, which is good because it's rubbed off on me over the years. But so when we first met, we worked in very different ways. But yeah,
Awesome. That's really cool. So, what are your musical interests? What gets you going today? What gets you really excited musically?
Well, I mean, the stuff. What have I really liked lately? There's a guy called Alexander Tucker. I like him a lot. Ella Orleans, she's amazing. And Laurel Halo, she is really, really, really good as well. Those are three people that I really enjoy listening to nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, can you keep going, Robin? Because I can't think of one. Because I spend my life here in the studio, listening either to other people's work for mastering or just surfing SoundCloud and Bandcamp new and interesting stuff. And there are many times when I find stuff that just blows me away, and I listen to it over and over again. But then I've moved on a few days later, and I've forgotten who it was. My history only goes back so far.
That Mayuki stuff that I sent you was you liked that?
I did like that,
Well,
and I like the Empress of Color Minutes very much as well.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
There you go. There's another one. But I think I'm a victim of the victim. It's not the right word. I'm a friend of ours, Rich Hanscom, posted an article the other day about not buying a record and sitting and listening to it over and over again because that's all you can afford. Now I've got Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and I sit here all day streaming everything I can possibly get my hands onto. So I've forgotten what it's like to really, really kind of build an enduring love with a new artist.
Wow. So you're listening to music all day, every day, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff I get to work on for mastering that's just, is incredible, and that's why I love the job. I'm so lucky to have clients that give me really, really nice stuff to work on.
Let's talk about your mastering career. Is that your primary gig? Is that where you mostly do your work?
No, it makes up part of the mix. It's I don't know, maybe 40% of my kind of earning capability, I would say. But I mean, and it's growing all the time. I've been terrifically busy the last few months, which is really, really good. But of course, it depends on people, and labels having the money to invest in those kind of services, and it's one of the many aspects of the current state of the music industry.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's changing rapidly by the minute, it seems, right? It just changes so fast. So, gentlemen, what creative advice do you have for our viewers out there, our listeners? Do you have any business advice?
Well, the business advice would be forget about the business, because if you do that, then you're just not going to make anything worthwhile, I guess. And I think we've never really been very good at the business side of things, Robin.
Well, we're not rich, are we?
No, no, and we're not. We've never had a manager, or we had a booker for a few months once. So we've made lots of very, very possibly good, possibly poor decisions. But I mean, we at the end of the day, we're happy with the stuff that we've done and how we work together. And I think specifically not thinking about the business side of things is probably what's kept us together for.
Yeah, years. I think we might be a little bit isolationist, actually. I think we might just not like the idea of being promoted.
But at the same, that's not to say we don't care about it, because we care very much about the ability for labels to be able to release and promote stuff, and More Music has been doing that on our behalf for years, and without them, well, we wouldn't be talking to you today, and we'd be making the music, of course, because we'd still do it regardless. But and that's the side, that's where you need to speak to Thomas more about the business and what an incredible job he's done to sustain a label in the climate, to be able to release what he really, really loves, the music that he really, really loves. He will do anything he can to release it and do it well, and and he, that's with love and business. So total respect to him for being able to continue to do that today.
Yeah, it does give us a feeling of security, I think, actually, to know that he is the perfect label boss, in that you really do feel like he's got your back. So yeah, we're very lucky in that regard. So that would be our advice to aspiring new musicians: is make something that Thomas Moore likes.
Yeah. There you go, right?
Yeah.
All right, so when is the next ISAN gig?
We have a show coming up in December. That's nice. That's exciting. I mean, gigs are always exciting for us, because we mostly only see each other when we play together. So this means that Anthony's going to be coming over to the UK, gets to see my new house. We get to go and do a lovely show in London at Cafe
I get to
Ocho,
eat fish and chips and a good curry.
Yeah. Drink a decent pint of warm beer.
Proper pint of beer. Yeah.
Ah, yes. Two of the best things to have in London: curry and a nice pint of beer.
Yeah.
By
Curry
far.
and beer and
Definitely.
chips and fish. Yeah.
Awesome. So when are you coming to the States? When are you going to be in the States?
When we can get, if somebody invites us over, then we'd be happy to. But yeah, we're very dependent on receiving nice emails from friendly promoters saying, "Would you like to come and do a show here or something?" So that's how that works for us. Really, we don't have a booking agent, as Anthony said. So.
That would be
And
awesome.
we almost always say yes.
Almost always.
Really? Yeah, almost always. Yeah, send us a copy of the tickets.
Oh, there you go. Right.
We'll see you. Yeah, we'll meet you at arrivals at the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it worked for what, 2 or 3 years when we were playing most often. It was we'd just be emailing directly with the promoters. We just get our flight reference number, go to the airport, and hope for the best. You know, standing in.
Gary, do everything yourselves. Everything yourselves.
Yeah, we don't have roadies. Yeah.
Awesome. So before we wrap up this show, everyone, you have to listen to ISAN. Pick up their albums, whether it's digital or a physical copy or a record even. This is Plans Drawn in Pencil. The song Amber Button, which you hear on Pencil versus Pixel, is from this album, but this is not the latest album. They do have more material. It will be in the show notes. You could find everything we talked about today and much more links on pencilversuspixel.com/ISAN. That's pencilvspixel.com/ISAN. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And we hope to connect with you again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great new year.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
man. Bye.
Bye.